2020, a wonderful year for YouTube, pretty much a crappy year for everything else. Hey, my name is Justin Tudor. I'm a guitarist and music producer here on YouTube, and I'm just like you guys. I love to sit around and watch way too much YouTube. I can honestly spend most of my day watching YouTube videos. Whenever I decide that I want to do something, I have to watch a YouTube video on how someone else did it. Whenever I feel like being educated on a certain subject, whether that be music production or guitar, I will turn to other YouTubers to watch what they have to say on the subject. Even to a fault, sometimes I'll sit around and watch way too much YouTube and not do nearly enough of what I need to be doing. But with that being said, I do want to make this video on some of my top favorite YouTube channels for music production and for like home studio tips and tricks for guitar stuff. I think I have a list of like 8 or 9 YouTube channels here, or just content creators. But at the end of the video, I'm going to include a bonus creator that I really want you guys to know about. I'm sure you guys have heard of him, but he recently just released a documentary of stuff that he recorded all at his home studio, and is super motivational. So I definitely want you guys to see that. So please stay around for the end of the video. But with that being said, why don't you just go ahead and smash that YouTube like button, maybe even comment some of your favorite YouTube channels. I would love to see what you guys are watching. But let's go ahead and get into this list. These are people who I'm subscribed to personally, and they are always on my homepage, my recommended list. I watch these guys all the time, and there is plenty of content here, just depending on what kind of mood I am in musically. Okay, first up I have on my list RHETT SHULL. If you guys don't know who RHETT SHULL is, he is a guitar player in Atlanta, Georgia, I do believe, or somewhere near Atlanta, Georgia. His YouTube channel is awesome. If you're like really into guitars or just music or amps, just gear, anything like that, I can sit around and I can watch RHETT SHULL's videos all day long, just because the production on them is fantastic. RHETT has this thing that he does at the beginning of videos where he'll include like maybe 30 or 45 second song that he produced really quickly. That's always like a really good attention grabber for me. Whenever he opens up a video with that kind of stuff, I'm almost always guaranteed to stick around and watch the rest of the video. Also on RHETT's channel, he has a series that he's been going through on 2020 titled What's That Sound? In this series, he's going through different pieces of gear and like what they're known for, like what's the AC30 sound, what's the tweed sound, what's the PAF sound, stuff like that. So if you're really interested in like understanding different tones and what it is that you're hearing and like all these famous amps and guitars and pickups and such, I really recommend going and watch RHETT's channel for that. It's been super educational for me, just whenever it comes to understanding what kind of like tones and stuff I may be dialing in on my Kemper as I'm trying to replicate some of those sounds. Also, RHETT does a ton of like gear review content on his channels, and that stuff's always addictive. I love to sit around and watch people play gear that I don't have. It may not be super good for my wallet, but it is really fun. It's super entertaining. RHETT does a ton of stuff with the Kemper and with the Helix, the Egg Jack Stomp, just all that different nerdy guitar stuff that I do. So I really do recommend RHETT's channel if you're into guitar related stuff, if you're into live music. His band has been doing live music streams during the pandemic, which has been very entertaining as well. If you're into just gear reviews, if you're into guitar knowledge and different skills, he does tutorials and stuff about stuff that he's learned over the years as a guitar player. If you're into that kind of stuff, RHETT SHULL will definitely be right up your alley, and definitely go check him out. Next up I have on my list Paul Davids. Paul Davids is basically just a more popular version of RHETT SHULL. No offense to RHETT or anything, but Paul, I think, has just over 2 million subscribers now. But the same thing as RHETT. He's really awesome for just like that general entertainment. If you want to sit around and watch someone play guitar better than you can play guitar, write songs better than you can write songs, and just go through a bunch of gear and a bunch of really expensive guitars that you don't have, Paul is your guy. He does like loops. That's the way he makes a lot of his music, is through loops. Not too long ago, there was a write a song in 1 hour challenge, and Paul had my favorite submission for that. I've seen that video several times. Paul is super smart as far as music theory and music knowledge goes. He has several courses on that, but there's also just a ton of free content on his channel in regard to music theory and such. So I really do recommend Paul Davids if you're into the same thing as like RHETT SHULL. And also, Paul just recently uploaded a studio tour, and also he did some videos of him building his new studio, which has been super entertaining. Studio content has taken off like crazy in 2020. There have been several people who have gotten relatively popular off of just studio tour videos and studio build outs. Everyone's wanting to make a home studio, and Paul has done it himself, and his is a vibe. It's awesome. I love his home studio. Again, just guitar, music production, music writing, music theory. Paul Davids is the man. Check him out. Speaking of home studio tours and home studio content, the next guy on my list is actually a friend of mine. His name is Andrew Masters. Obviously, you guys know Andrew. He was in my last video, professional audio engineer, rescues my mix. So please do go ahead and click that link. I'm going to put that in the top of the video so you guys can watch that one after you watch this video. Andrew does home studio tours pretty much all over the country. He's done a ton in Nashville where he lives. He's done some in Texas. I think he's been elsewhere like in Los Angeles as well. So he's been all over the place doing these home studio tours, and I'll tell you, I've seen some of the most just outstanding, miraculous, I guess. Maybe miraculous is a little much. Anyways, I've seen some crazy awesome home studios on Andrew's channel. His home studio is great. There's one in Asheville, I believe, Gray Box, that just blew my mind. Some of the stuff that people do in their home studios, it can't even really be considered a home studio at that point, other than the fact that it's like really close to your home or in your home. It's basically just a bunch of professional studios that people have either in an extra room of their house or right outside in their backyard. There have been some videos of a little more humble studios, kind of like what we have around here. But for the most part, it's really just been super wholesome, super entertaining studio tours. Andrew said they're some of his favorite videos to make because he just gets to go around and look at people's gear and, hey, what does this do? What does this do? What is this guy? He says they're some of the best videos to make, and I can see that because they're a ton of fun to watch. But on top of home studio tours, Andrew also does stuff like gear reviews, and he does stuff about like home studio functionality. I have a light hanging right here, and Andrew actually taught me how to do that, which is awesome. It's made it super easy to just flip a switch and there's my light. And it's just better because I don't have a flimsy light stand sitting in the corner taking up space on the ground. So stuff like that, Andrew is really a great resource for home studio tips and tricks and content. Also, Andrew loves coffee. So go ahead and smash the like button for coffee and Andrew. So those of you who have seen my first video on my channel when I talk about some tips and resources for home studio production that I found online, you guys know that I play worship guitar as well. I lead at my church. That brings me to my next inclusion on this list, and that's the worship tutorials guys. That is Bradford Mitchell and Brian Wall. They make some really, really great content targeted obviously to church music and worship material. Other than that, they also just have a ton of great stuff for the Line 6 Helix. They're pumping out worship patches all the time that sound fantastic. They also do a ton of worship playthroughs. So a lot of times if they're doing a song that we're doing on a Sunday, instead of just having to sit down and learn the song by ear, I'll just watch either Brian or Bradford play their version, and then I'll switch that to whatever key we're playing the song in, and it's always really great. They'll typically play songs as if there's only going to be one guitar player, which is typically what I try to do. Actually, I may make a video on that. I want you guys to leave a comment if you want to see a video on how to serve the song rather than serving yourself with your lead guitar. Worship Tutorials is also kind of another one of those channels that I like to watch whenever I feel like just gawking over a bunch of really cool gear. They have some of the nicest guitars. I love every guitar that both of those guys own, and I would love nothing more than just to have those. I mean, I have a ton of guitars, just none of them cost over $1,000 like literally every single guitar that the Worship Tutorials guys have. Elliott Tonemaster. Okay, finally on the Worship Tutorials guys, they have something called the Worship Manual, which is not a free resource. It's actually, I think, $75 or $80 on their website. And I haven't seen all of that myself, but the free snippets and the free episodes that they've included on their channel have been really great. I love watching the worship manual resources that they have on like how to introduce new songs at church, why you should get rid of music stands at church, just stuff like that. But yeah, no, the worship manual stuff that they've included, their gear stuff, Helix resources, Axe Effects resources, Kemper resources, anything guitar and worship, the Worship Tutorial guys have you covered, and they do a really great job of what they do. Okay, to go ahead and do a complete 180 from Worship Tutorials, the next person I have on my list is Hardcore Music Studio. That is Jordan Valerio, I'm not sure how to say it. He's Canadian, has a really cool last name that I can't pronounce or say because I'm from Mississippi. Anyways, he's been around for a really long time, Jordan has, and he's really just kind of now, in my opinion, picking up some steam. He's been putting out content for years, and I'm not really sure why he hasn't really become more popular until now, but I'm a big fan of Jordan's content. He's a professional mix engineer. and he has some inside looks at some of his mixes, so it's almost, in my opinion, kind of like Nail the Mix, but just for free, because Jordan is walking through some of his mixes and what he did on particular songs and different with different bands, how he uses drum samples, how not to use drum samples. Jordan also does a lot of content on basically just mix tutorials, so he'll do like inside looks of his mixes and then also mix tutorials on metal stuff. He had a really great video on like tube amps versus neural DSP, and you can basically tell that it's like non-distinguishable at this point. Stuff is just so good for your computer, but he does a lot of kind of videos like that. He also just did a home studio kind of like upgrade video that I really liked. Kind of inspired me. I think I'm gonna do an accent wall in my studio somewhere because Jordan got one and it was really cool. Jordan just really he's kind of like a studio motivator or a music production motivator, in my opinion. He's been doing all of his mixing and everything from his home studio, and like I said, he does it professionally. That is his full-time gig, and a lot of his videos are really geared towards motivating you to just do it the best you can with what you have, because the results can totally sound professional, and that your circumstances do not limit you whenever it comes down to mixing and such. I really love Jordan's channel for that, for motivation and for tutorials and for just inside looks at professional mixes. All this is for free, so please do go ahead and check out Hardcore Music Studio. The next guy on my list, I discovered a couple of years ago. I've learned quite a bit from his channel. Let's see, I don't know how to describe it. His channel's almost been kind of self-destructive for me a little bit, because it's made me very ambitious, almost to a fault, because I haven't really put in the time to be as ambitious as I am. But anyways, the next guy is Guns and Guitars. I don't really watch any of his gun content, but he does, his main thing that he has done is take kit guitars, and he has upgraded them and kind of just like customized them. He has a ton of videos on his channel, like build your favorite Les Paul, build your favorite Super Strat, build your favorite blah 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 for this amount of dollars. And he usually in those videos he'll take like a kit guitar and he'll just like basically just customize it, make it awesome, throw in some different pickups. One of my favorite things with the way he does those guitars and customizes it, he shows you that you don't necessarily have to use like premium pickups and premium anything for the guitar to sound awesome. He gets a lot of his pickups, like he'll get some Alnico 5 pickups and stuff from China on Amazon, and it just they sound great. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for some quality boutique, just way too expensive gear, but Guns and Guitars has kind of shown me that that's not necessarily always required. Thanks to watching him, I've actually customized a few guitars of my own. Like this guy used to be a Squire Telecaster that one of my friends gave me. Because of Guns and Guitars, I kind of like had the idea that I could change the pickups. I did a different paint job. I have rounded the fretboard, polished the frets, just a bunch of stuff like that. And this is what I mean when I say that Guns and Guitars has made me more ambitious than I need to be. This is what ambition without persistence looks like. It's just a painted guitar on a stick right now. But on top of just like watching him build his custom guitar kits, which I love doing, by the way, I don't know what it is about watching people build guitars, but it will put me in a trance to the point where I will watch hours and hours of him making different guitars, or just anybody on YouTube making different guitars. It can be really unproductive for me at times. He's actually shown several ways on how to make your own guitar building tools, like straight edges and guitar sanding beams. He shows like homemade versions of all those, so you don't have to go out and pay a ton of money on Amazon or any of those other places that charge just exuberant amounts of money for guitar tools. If you're into building guitars or customizing guitars or just watching someone do that, go ahead and check out Guns and Guitars. I highly recommend it. He's got very wholesome content. It's always super entertaining as well. Next on the list, I have another guitar resource. That is Tone Junkie TV. I've mentioned Tone Junkie before in my first video whenever I was talking about home studio resources for guitar stuff. They do a ton of stuff for Kemper tips and tricks that are really awesome. How to dial in the Kemper with the different parameters that the Kemper has. But also, like I was saying earlier with RHETT, SHULL and with Paul Davids, they do a lot of content on like understanding guitar tone and talking about what qualities different guitar tones have. And up until recently, I haven't really dissected guitar tone other than like in metal context. Like I can dial in a PV 5150, 6505 plus, anything like that with relative ease, but something like an AC30 or a Sir Bella or just any of these other kind of amps, they've always been a little more mysterious to me. So watching Tone Junkie TV and understanding what they do and what they're listening for in their guitar tones has been really enlightening for me, and I love watching them. HW has a great personality, and it's just easy to watch him for hours at a time. There's not a single person who will watch this video who doesn't know who Rick Beato is, but if you don't, just in case, you're this one person living in a cave and you come out every now and then to watch my videos. Rick has a really cool series on his channel called What Makes This Song Great, and I love all that because he will take the multi-tracks or the stems from a song, and he will go through the entire video and listen to the particular stems and just kind of point out the qualities of these stems, and he will point out what is good about the guitar parts, about the piano parts, the drums, what it is that makes a song have its own personality, and why that song took off and it was so popular. He has a really cool one for Periphery that I love, but he does a ton of great songs. I think there's like 80 or so episodes in that series, so do check that out. But other than that series, he kind of does commentary on a lot of other stuff. He talks about popular music, and he's done a video recently on like the top 10 Spotify playlist or something like that. He talked about those songs. He also has a ton of live streams. He does that really often, where he will just go really in depth with music theory lessons and stuff. I don't watch those as much as I should, because like I said earlier, I really do think that Rick is probably one of the smartest ones on this list, and I would love to meet him in person and just pick his brain on music theory and music production, because he has a ton of good content. What I think I would call studio best practices. His studio is completely loaded, and he has been a professional music producer for years and years and years, so he knows all the tricks of the trade. His videos are always super enlightening on that. His music theory videos, there's a ton of them. There's a playlist on his channel with pretty much all of the music theory videos he's ever made, and if you can watch those, take notes, and be very diligent with trying to understand what Rick's saying, I think you could probably get an entire music theory education on his channel. So I really do recommend Rick Beato. I think after this video, I'm going to go watch some Rick Beato. I can't decide which way to say that, so I'm just saying both. I think after this video, I'm going to go watch some Rick Beato and try to be smarter about my music stuff. Okay, finally on my official list, I have Get Good Drums / Periphery / Misha Mansour. But Get Good Drums, I mean, let's just call a spade what it is. A ton of it is marketing content, but it's all super good that I don't even mind that they're trying to sell me something. There are mixing tutorials from Nolly himself and how he mixes Get Good Drums to sound really good in a mix. There are writing tutorials from Misha where he is using Get Good Drums, but like just picking, like hearing the way he goes about writing and the things he's listening for and the way he wants to keep familiarity throughout the song, stuff like that. It's really great content for music producers and for writing. Also, if you watch Misha's channel, he does a lot of live streams where you get a lot of like inside scoops on some Periphery stuff. I've actually heard some stuff about some drama that they've had before that was really entertaining. It's kind of stuff that you don't see regularly, so that's always really fun to listen to as well. Also from Periphery, probably 3 of my favorite videos from them, because I love studio content. I love watching people make music. They have Remain Indoors, which is Periphery 3 studio documentary. They have Periphery, something called Juggerdoc, which is the making of Juggernaut. That's really cool. And then Periphery P4, the documentary. I really like P4 and P3 documentaries because they were all done in Misha's home studio, and it's really cool way to watch how they collaborate even in different countries and in different states, and how that they go about writing and just stay with the project for days on end. It's almost an escape from just kind of real life, and just it kind of almost scratches the itch a little bit that I have of just the idea of me being able to sit in my home studio for weeks on end and work on a project with really no outside interruptions. That's something that I would love to be able to do sometime, and watching those guys do it is pretty much the next best thing. Okay, speaking of documentaries, here's the bonus inclusion that I was talking about. I hated to include this guy on the list of YouTubers or content creators because he's really just a musician who has done some stuff on Instagram. He's also uploaded that stuff from Instagram onto his YouTube channel. But he recently just released, actually just 4 days ago, I'm looking at it right now, he released a documentary called Please Don't Stand Up When Room Is in Motion. And this artist's name is Novo Amor. Novo is kind of like a progressive folk kind of artist. He has some of my absolute favorite music. He's my top Spotify artist for the past 3 years or 2 years. Consistently, I listen to him more than anyone else. This documentary, it is like literally one of the most motivating things I have ever watched, just because he is so like deep, and he thinks so deeply about the music and about working with the music and how this music is going to influence other people, and how music is just a bunch of like sounds and colors and shapes that you kind of have to put together so that they become this cohesive thing that is going to influence a person. He thinks really, really deeply about the music, and I really enjoyed the documentary because, again, it is all out of his home studio. It's so fun to watch professional musicians record stuff in their home, because you're just like, if they can do it, I can do it. They're just better than me at it now, but they won't always be, because I'm going to keep doing this. And that is how I feel every single time I watch this documentary from Novo. I've watched it 4 times now, once a day, I promise. It's an awesome documentary. Please do go check that out because it will light a fire under your butt to make some of the best music you've ever made. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that you saw some channels out of this video that you don't typically watch. I hope you just get as much entertainment out of this list as I've gotten out of it this year. Like I said earlier, please do list some of your favorite channels or some of your favorite content creators in the comments because I really want to watch more stuff. I love watching this kind of stuff. But with that being said, let's all just kind of like make a pact that we're going to make our own music too. We're not just going to sit around and watch these guys make music. We're not going to watch their lives. We're going to do our own thing. We're going to use them as motivation, use them as resources, and then we're going to make our own stuff. Smash the like button for making your own music. I've been Justin. Thanks so much for watching.